Hi you guys, welcome back to a brand new episode here on Spirit of the Raven TV, where we go through all different types of animal totems, spiritual lessons, and all the magic in between. And so today I'm really excited because I'm bringing you guys such a mystical, such an incredible, transformative animal that can teach us so much about the parts of ourselves that we don't know. In today's video, we are going to be covering the Octopus Totem. This one has been a long time coming because an octopus is something that we find very fascinating as humans. This is one of those animals that could almost be considered alien to us. And the octopus has so many magical gifts and qualities. So hopefully throughout this video, you will learn a lot about Octopus Totem, but you'll also learn a lot about yourself and why you might be seeing a lot of octopus everywhere. What is Spirit trying to tell you? Well, I am here to answer those questions. And if you are new here, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single animal that we cover. And also, if you guys are interested, make sure to check out my Instagram, where I post daily little tidbits of spiritual information, whether that's about spiritual awakening, stepping into your confidence, going through different symbolism of animals, plants, and everything in between. So first off, we are going to be breaking down the animal like we normally do by talking about the environment to which it lives. So octopus is a water totem animal. So anytime you are dealing with a water-based animal, you are dealing with creativity, with life force, with emotions that we don't always understand because they are very subconscious. I mean, I want you to think about the ocean, right? The ocean to a lot of us is like an alien land, right? Most humans are not very comfortable when it comes to marine life. And it's not saying you don't enjoy the ocean or swimming in the ocean, but in all honesty, if any of us were dropped in the ocean, without a sign of land, we would panic because it's not usually our realm. Really, this land is something that, this environment, I should say, is something that we don't always dip our toes into. So when we're working with a water animal, especially a water animal of the ocean, we are really dealing with things that we can't quite see. So the octopus is really going to be helping us in those deeper realms of feelings that we don't always have access to, our potential creativity that we don't always have access to. So when you're getting signs of octopus, that's definitely a sign for you that you are going to be entering into a spiritual awakening that might not be so logical for you. One of the things I do want to mention about octopus is very grounded, right? Like octopus goes to the bottom and it stays at the bottom for most of its time. And this shows us that octopus will help us ground into this energy. One of the things we're gonna get into is why octopus is such an art-based animal and why it really comes to those who are ready to express artistic gifts. And when you're in that kind of realm of potential, it's very hard to find grounding. So octopus really helps you ground into this creative potential so you can actually birth it out into the earth. Octopus, they're very grounded, but they have no vertebrae, right? So they are very lucid and able to move in ways that really tricks the eye. Where humans are, this is our body. We can work out and change it. Octopus can change it in a split second. It's part of its ability to transform itself. Because it is so flexible, I mean, a giant octopus can fit through the size of a quarter, which means that it's very adaptable, right? It's really hard to capture in that way where it can squeeze out, it can slip through. And so when you're working with Octopus Totem, you might be feeling that energy of things are coming into your reach. You have the arms to grab all of these things. And not only that, but you can maneuver in weird places. So if you feel very stuck in life, if you feel like you are in this fixed routine that just does not serve you, Octopus Totem is helping you move around in a new way and helping you squeeze through obstacles that might have been a major block at one point in your life. So let's talk about the camouflage, because Octopus is such a master at camouflage, and this is one of the things I meant by the arts. And so an octopus can change its color at will. I mean, literally, if it's leaving the bottom of the ocean, it's going to change its color. If it moves onto coral rocks, it's going to change its color. But it not only changes its color, but it also will change its shape as well. And this is to help it whenever it's hunting or if it's being hunted. It's one of those techniques that it uses to disappear into its atmosphere. And in order to be able to do this, one is the octopus is very, very aware of its surroundings at all times. It does not miss a thing. That is why it is able in just a millisecond for its entire body to shift and match what it's up against. And so for you, if you have Octopus Totem, or if you are just working with this animal spiritually, you're going to be able to recognize things about your environment, the people in your environment, the opportunities, and even the distractions. You're going to see your world so clearly as a means to be able to maneuver in it in the best way possible for you. And something else I think is very beautiful about octopus is, here on the human plane, melanin is something that has created a lot of drama in human history, right? Humans have fought one another for looking different and for being different than one another. And octopus, on the other hand, does not have that because it is not one color, right? It can change its melanin at any given moment. And so with that being said, octopus does not see the human conditions and the human, I almost want to say distractions, but really I guess the limitations of our relationships, right? Because octopus just adapts to wherever it's at. So you might find working with this animal that if you did have any previous barriers when it comes to other people or ways of life that are very different from you, you might start to see that as something that doesn't matter. That what is on the inside, what the intentions are always going to be more important than what someone looks like. Whether that be, beauty is good or an ugly is bad, it will start to really shift the way that you view the world, because as we know, attractive is not always good, and physical ugliness is not always bad, right? These are all limitations, and part of water medicine is breaking down any kind of barriers. I mean, water can fit into any container and be a part of it, but water can also cut a mountain, right? So water does not operate in limited movement like earth animals would. So you're talking about massive shifting and changing, like the octopus and its arms and its camouflage, in the ways that you view the world, your potential, and how everyone else works in this world with you. So something else I really want to bring up in accordance to the camouflage that the octopus has is, let's talk about illusion. Right, because as I just said, octopus does not see illusion the way that we do. It does not have a fixed perception of things. It is really quick to adapt and change and metamorphosize itself so it can get to the outcome it wants. Well, something that all water animals work with is the moon. They all work with the moon because the moon pulls the tides, and they are very much, their lives are revolved around these lunar cycles. And so anytime we're working with moon, if you do tarot or if you do any kind of occult studies, then the moon often represents that esoteric view of the world. And octopus is very much a master of illusion, seeing through illusions and really being able to morph itself. So when this comes to your spiritual journey, you're going to be seeing things again in a whole new light, and that includes yourself and how you move through things. So expect the world to get a little bit fluid for you while you're working with Octopus Totem. You might have a change of events, like your job, where you live, the people around you might start changing, or your own tastes and what you want might start changing. You might be having very deep spiritual questions for the universe of, why is it like this? Or why does this keep happening? Or how can I view this in a different way? Working with Octopus Totem is a great time to start metamorphosizing the way that you interact with your spiritual energy, and to really tap into those parts of your spiritual being that aren't always so obviously present. Octopus is really giving you a pass to go into a world that you normally would never explore. So make sure that you're asking a lot of questions when working with Octopus Totem. To further Octopus's ability to create illusions, how can we not mention its biggest defense mechanism, which is the infamous ink spraying that we all knew as kids growing up, where we're like, I'm gonna draw an octopus with all this a black cloud coming out. You know, we all learned that pretty quickly, that octopuses have this ink. If you did not know what it's made up of, it's actually mucus and it's melanin. So the same pigments that make up our skin colors that octopus uses to transform, it uses that exact same mechanism with its mucus to create a defense for if anything tries to attack it. But here's the interesting thing is its ink is actually dangerous to the octopus itself, right? So the very same thing that it uses to protect itself can also damage itself. And I think this is really, really important to bring up, because I think a lot of us have built-in mechanisms to defend ourselves. And it comes based on how we were raised, who we were around. You know, some people might shut down when there's defense, you know, or they feel like someone's gonna hurt them. They shut down and push people away, but eventually that could hurt them too, right? Because now you're alone and you're not allowing yourself to be in the world. You know, some people go into fight mode when they're defensive and they're ready to throw hands and arms, but that can also come back on you too, right? So octopus really helps you learn your own defense mechanisms, and then ask yourself, where's the line that's drawn, right? Because if the octopus sits in its own ink, it would actually suffocate itself, because its ink is very, very poisonous. Well, it's not so much poisonous, but it clogs up gills and it makes it really hard for animals to move, see, or breathe. And so with your own defense, you have to ask yourself, where is that line being drawn between it's helping you versus hindering you? And this is kind of that underlying subconscious emotions that the octopus really has us dive into and ask ourselves these bigger questions. So another fun little octopus fact is that the octopus can take off its arm and regenerate itself. Regeneration is a big trait of octopuses, and that's also something we learn very young. Most people do, at least. The octopus is able to defend itself if something grabs its arm. It can detach it, and then it can regrow it. So what this shows is that the octopus, no matter what happens to it, it never loses its own essence, right? Because it is its own essence to be able to regrow a part of itself that was once destroyed. And so for you, if you have experienced things in life that have really brought you down or really hurt you, you're able to regrow those parts of yourself. So like, let's say if someone breaks your heart, you are able to regenerate your heart yourself. And I think that's very, very beautiful. So when you see octopus coming around, it could be bringing back things that you lost in the battle. But also be mindful, because sometimes this can talk about our addictions as well. Not just addictions, but negative habits that sometimes, even if we remove them, unless we remove the essence inside of us, it can grow back. And that's just being mindful, again, of who we are in this world and what we want our human life to look like and be like. And so this is where I'm going to take us a little bit down the rabbit hole, so I hope you guys are ready. But we are going to be talking a little bit about the 7 metals of alchemy, because there's something about the octopus that I want to bring up. So if you've ever heard of spiritual alchemy, or, you know, alchemy where people would take metal and turn it into gold, a lot of spiritual people believe that the whole process of, you know, turning metal into gold is actually more about your spiritual being, and that it's all supposed to reference your spiritual awakening as we go through the different 7 metals of life. So I am going to only bring up 2 of those metals today, because we are keeping the focus on octopus here. But if you are more interested in this topic, let me know in the comments below, and maybe we can create a new video around it. But octopus has blood that is built up of copper. And that's really unique. Not a lot of animal species have a different blood base. As you know, humans, we have iron. Most mammals have iron blood. And in alchemy, iron is actually, it's one of the most resilient of all the metals, right? It is a very strong metal. It does not, you know, yield willingly. It's very, very hard. And as humans, we can use iron as a tool or as a weapon, right? And that really gives us this ability to be either good or bad. It's like we have to make that decision at all times. And this is kind of the lesson we've been talking about, right? With using your ink, how do you defend yourself? At what point are you pushing the boundaries between self-preservation and self-defeat, right? And it's kind of that idea with iron. That's a lot of the human battle of trying to make sure we're using tools and when we need them, and weapons when we need them, because this world isn't all rainbows and butterflies, as much as I wish it was. But the copper actually in spiritual alchemy is actually based on arts, because you see the copper is used by a lot of artists. It's very bendable, it's pretty sturdy. You see it in jewelry making, but it also binds metals together, such as silver and gold. It is a joining metal. And if you want to ask like the Roman and Greek attachments, it was to Venus. Venus, who is the planet of arts, she is the planet of love, she is the planet of connection. And this is what octopus highly represents, because octopus is an artist, right? It transforms its body to match its environment. It understands color, it understands perception in a way that many animals don't. Its blood is made up of copper, which is the binding metal. And right, so it's able to bring things together in this world. And so when you are working with octopus, you are tapping into those Venus artistic creative parts of you that also are wanting to go and bond with the environment and really interact with the things around you. So let it pull you. If anything pulls you, let yourself go into it to see what is going on. What can we learn here? All right, so now let's break down a little bit of the octopus's anatomy a little bit more. So here's a fun fact about octopus is they actually have 3 hearts. That's right, they have 3 hearts and they have 9 brains. What? We always heard that octopuses were intelligent, but I mean, they are intelligent. They have 9 brains. So they have a central brain that is in their head, but that's actually not even the most functioning one. Every single arm that they have has a brain, because their tentacles take in so much information. So when they're feeling their environment, they're smelling it, they're tasting it, they're picking up the color. So every single one of their senses is in their tentacles. That means in a millisecond, they have to distinguish, is this food? Is this a rock? Do I need to change color? Is there a threat around me? And because that's so much information coming in, if they had a single brain, they would not be able to process in fast enough and in time for them to make a decision. So every single tentacle is making its own decision about what the octopus is going to do, and only the relevant information is going to the central brain. So with you, if you're experiencing octopus as a spiritual phenomena, you're going to be able to process a lot of information, but it might not always be logical. And this is kind of tapping into that water element of intuition, right? You're like, I feel like I need to go this way, and I have not heard the logical reasons yet, but I'm just going to trust it. Right? And it's like being able to trust those senses that you don't always tap into, because you're so used to using that logical brain that's like, well, if I do this, where will it lead? When you're working with octopus, when you're working with water animals and intuition and those deep emotions, you have to trust yourself. So while working with octopus, just allow yourself to move through this world and trust the natural impulses of what you feel like you should do. Really trust yourself, because you are going to have intelligence that isn't quite logical. It's a different form of intelligence than you may be used to. And that's one of the funnest parts, I think, about working with octopus, is just the way you move through the world, the way you see yourself, the way you see everything is going to completely shift. And that's why this animal is just beyond me fantastic. And another thing that shows us that octopuses are really intelligent is they're really playful animals. They actually like to play, and they've been shown in captivity that if they don't have enough stimulation around them, they will get bored and start trying to eat their own arm off or commit suicide. Suicide's actually a big thing with octopuses, and we're going to get into that in just a second. It more has to do with their reproductive habits, but it's also been shown when they aren't getting enough stimulation. So if you do have octopus as a main totem, then that means in your life you need to have stimulation. You need to have multiple hobbies, multiple things that interest you. Even in your environment, you need to have color, you need to have decorations, art. You have to stimulate yourself. Octopus people cannot just be in a blank room. They will go crazy, okay? If someone has an all white house, they are not Octopus Totem. All right, they are not, because octopus would go nuts. It wants that different color because it wants to camouflage itself and change. So make sure that you are giving yourself plenty of stimulation when you're working with this animal totem. And as for the whole self-death that the octopus does, it's actually as a form of its reproductive life. So octopuses don't have a long life. They live fast, fast and short. And that's kind of part of their beauty, is that when they're here, they're here. They're involved, they're interactive, and when they're gone, they're gone. When an octopus mates is when they usually die. The male dies pretty soon after it has mated with the female, or the female kills him. It's one or the other. He either just drops dead on his own, or she'll kill him right then and there if she needs food or substance for the eggs. Then octopus, when she lays her eggs, she will stop eating. She will stop eating, and that's part of her making sure that her eggs stay safe. But once it gets closer to time for them to hatch, she will either just die, like her body will just be like, okay, we're done, dead. Or if it's not happening fast enough and her eggs are starting to hatch, she will try to commit suicide. And it's been shown in captivity where she will bang herself against the tank and do whatever she can to die, because octopuses are kind of cannibals and they will eat each other. And so it's actually part of their evolutionary trait to keep them alive, is that she dies once they're born so that she doesn't eat them. That's at least a theory that different scientists have. But it's really fascinating. And I think in this case, when you're working with octopus, it obviously is not telling you to harm yourself. What it is telling you is to protect that which you create, right? She will make the ultimate sacrifice to protect what she has created. And for you, it's kind of the same, right? You can't let your self-destructive habits get in the way. You can't let other people get in the way. You have to make sure that what you create is protected. And this could be an art piece, this could be an idea, this could be something to give back to the world. Again, she's very creative, and she's in that space of picking things out from, you know, the universe is dropping in downloads, and it might not make sense, but she's just acting on it and going. And so once you have something that is formed and you know what it is, like an egg, you're like, this is something, you have to protect it and do everything you can and be selfless in that protection, right? Obviously, don't hurt yourself. That is not what Octopus Totem is telling you. This is part of her natural habits, but with us, we can use that in a different way that benefits us. So all in all, that is what I have for you guys today for Octopus Totem. And again, it's working with the spiritual realm, the unseen. It's really taking you to a new world that might feel very unfamiliar and maybe even strange at first, maybe even a little scary at first. But she's really teaching you how to process things that aren't always logical. She's helping you change the ways to which you move through the world. She's helping you see the world in accuracy so that you can understand how you need to move through. She's teaching you how to, utilize all of your different arms and all the information coming in so that you can really do your octopus life. So she's a beautiful creature, and she has so much to offer us. So if you are working with Octopus Totem, I'm really excited for you, and you'll have to let me know below if any of these things are happening to you now. And if you want to see me cover a different animal, let me know below. What animal would you like to learn about next? All right, guys, so that is all I have for you today, and thank you for showing up for another Totem episode, and until next time.